Most of the statistics that you calculate in this class will be computed for you by SPSS, the statistical software package we'll use for the course. However, you will have to do some calculations on your own without the help of SPSS. I'm going to highly recommend getting rid of your calculator and learning to use Excel to do these calculations. I'll show you in this slideshow how that works. In the next few weeks, you're going to be learning how to compute the mean, variance, standard deviation, z-scored, and a chi-squared statistic, along with many other concepts. You'll have to do some of these on your own without the help of SPSS. These different statistics require adding, dividing, subtracting, squaring, taking the square root, and other computations. While it's pretty easy to add and subtract things, once you get to taking the square root, you probably need a little help. To use Excel or your calculator or even your brain successfully in some of these longer calculations, you need to remember the order of operations. When you have a calculation that has more than one step, so more than just an addition or one multiplication or one division, you have to follow a specific order to come out with the right result. The order is parentheses first, followed by exponents, then multiplication and division. Those can be interchangeable. You can do multiplication first or division first, as long as you've done all the parentheses and exponents already. And then addition and subtraction, and those are also on the same plane. Addition or subtraction can both come at the same time. So parentheses first, then exponents, and then multiplication and division, and then addition and subtraction. One of the acronyms often used for the order of operations is Please Excuse My Dear Aunt Sally, PEMDAS. Parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. You can make up your own acronym if this doesn't work for you. Alrighty, so let's give it a try. Let's say you were trying to compute the average age of kids who live in your neighborhood, and you collected the following data. There's a 6-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 9-year-old, an 8-year-old, a 12-year-old. And you know from your previous math classes that you would add those ages up and divide by 5. And we're going to learn more about that in a couple of weeks. So if you don't remember, no worries, we'll get to it. So this is something you could probably do in your head or on a piece of scrap paper pretty easily. 6 plus 10 is 16, plus 9 is 25, plus another 20 is 45. 45 divided by 5 is 9. But maybe you have more numbers than this. Maybe the numbers are a lot larger than this. Maybe you just want to take it easy and let Excel do the work instead. So let's take a look at how that might happen. If you open Excel, you're going to start with a screen that looks like this, and you can choose a blank workbook. The workbook can be used as a calculator. It doesn't matter which cell you click in. Any of the cells will work as a calculator, so I'm just going to click in the first cell. In order to use Excel to compute something, you need to tell it to start by typing in an equal sign. So here we're just going to type in equals, and then I'll go ahead and type what I want it to compute. 6 plus 10 plus 9 plus 8 plus 12 divided by 5. All right, some of you are going, wait a second, I know what's going to happen, but I'm going to hit enter and just see what happens anyway. So if I hit enter, it'll give me the answer. We have 35.4. The answer's in the cell, the formula's up here in the formula bar. We didn't want 35.4, we wanted 9, as we computed before in our heads. So if we take a look at the formula we typed in and we remember the order of operations, we can see that we've got some division right here, which is going to happen before the addition, the plus, 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 plus. When we did it in our heads up here, we did the whole numerator, added those all together, and then we divided by the 5. So what we want is we want to change this so that Excel does everything in the numerator first and then divides by the denominator. We know there are several things that come before division, and one of them is parentheses. So we can add some parentheses around this top piece, And now we should have everything in the parentheses should go first, and then it will all get divided by 5. So we'll hit enter, and there we go. Voila, we got our 9. So take a look back. That's the formula we used. We translated this into this. We can get even more complicated. So imagine trying to type this into a standard calculator. You'd probably have to do one at a time. Calculate this and then square it and write it down. And calculate this and square it and write it down. Or if you have a fancy scientific calculator, you might be able to put it all in at once, but on that tiny screen it would be really hard to see. Instead, you can use Excel. We'll just click in another cell, doesn't matter which one. We'll start with an equal sign. And this is a little more complex, so here we go. 6 minus 9. Now we have to raise that to the second power. We have to square it. In Excel, it recognizes this little caret, which is on the key above the 6, as raised to the power of, and then we hit 2. So we want 6 minus 9 raised to the power of 2. All right, and then we're going to add on 10 minus 9 raised to the power of 2, and so on and so forth. Now that we have everything raised to the power of 2, we know that we want to divide by 5 minus 1. Again, we see that we might have a problem here because this division is going to happen before this subtraction. So we're going to want to at least put the denominator in parentheses. We might also want to just go ahead and put the whole numerator in parentheses, just to be sure that everything on the top is going to happen and to be divided by everything on the bottom. Right, so we have this equation here and we've translated it into this equation here. Notice that Excel is being really nice to you and it's giving you an idea of whether or not you have all the opening and closing parentheses you need. So you have an opening one here that's black and it goes with this closing one that's black, and then you have pink here, pink, pink and pink, pink and pink, and so on and so forth. So this will get even more important as we get more and more parentheses in our work. All right, now that I have this and I'm pretty happy with it, I look over it a few times, I make sure I have all of these raised to the second power, everything looks good. I'm going to hit enter and I get 5. I happen to know that that is the correct answer, so I'm not going to go any further here and show you calculations by hand or anything, but if you want to try it by hand or you want to try it in your own calculator to see if you get the same thing, that's the answer you're looking for, is a 5. And you can go back and check your formula here. You know what, if you're expecting something much, much larger and you realize that this number here, this 9, this should have really been a 19. You can just go ahead and put a 1 in there and hit return, and there you go. You have your whole new answer. So it's very flexible and forgiving when you make small errors, unlike some of the calculators and other things. So again, you're going to hear this from me about 50,000 times. I really think Excel is a great choice for in-class calculations or even outside of class calculations that you would normally do on a calculator. All right, so the last slide we calculated, that was the variance, and you'll learn about that in a couple of weeks. This is the standard deviation based on the same set of numbers. You can see your 6, 10, 9, 8, and 12 in here. You can see your mean in here, that's the 99999. 5 people in your data set. We're going to learn a lot more about this in a couple of weeks. Right now we're just learning how to use Excel. So we know that we already computed it. We know this whole mess under the square root sign, this is the square root symbol, is equal to 5. So we can go back to Excel and we can just use a simple procedure. Click on a new cell, hit equals, and SQRT, square root, and then whatever number we want to square root of. So this case we want square root of 5, we'll go square root of 5. Boom. 2.236068. You probably don't want to report all those digits, but there you have it. That's the square root of 5. If you were doing this all from scratch and you didn't know what the answer was to the inside of the square root sign, you could incorporate it into your huge formula. So you could do SQRT, a big parentheses to begin with, and a big parentheses to end with, because you want the square root of everything after you've all computed it all. Notice how Excel's all nice to you here. It gives you the black and black, parentheses, pink and pink, pink and pink, and then purple, 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 purple. It shows you which things are being done with which sets of parentheses. Okay, that looks pretty good to me. I'm pretty happy with it, so I'm going to hit return. And thank goodness we got the same answer, 2.236068. That is the square root of 5. All right, there are lots of ways to use Excel. I would highly recommend using it as a calculator. I would also recommend looking online at videos of how to use Excel to make beautiful graphs. It makes really nice graphs. The Office support documentation has great tips on using Excel as a calculator, and that's about it. So hopefully you've enjoyed the first video of your Foundations of Biostatistics course, and now on to something different.